Jason Walker here, Walker Tea Review, and of course we are here together to look at tea, and not just any tea. Saying I'm drinking tea is like saying, I'm eating cheese. That's fine if it comes in a slice and you peel a plastic wrapper off of it. Cheese can mean a lot of things. No, here today we are looking at a Dragon Well tea, a GrandTeaShiFengLongJing tea. The grade, this one actually has a grade, a AAA plus grading. So to say that I'm talking about a Dragon Well tea as a green tea that we're looking at would be, instead of saying I'm eating cheese, would be like saying I have found a good brie that I enjoy, or a good quality Affinois. This is the way to talk about really what we admire about a tea. A tea bag is okay for occasions. We all need that quick cheese slice for a sandwich, but it's not something that we go to for day-to-day enjoyment. So let's talk about a good quality tea today. We have, this one is from GrandTeas. This is a Shifeng meaning Lion Peak, which is a region around the West Lake, which is in Hangzhou, Zhejiang province of China, and you'll be able to look at a map of that. Again, this GrandTeas offers 25, and this is a sample size here. GrandTea offers 25 grams, which is about 9/10 of an ounce, for $13.80, currently listed on their website. We've got our tasting equipment with us ready to go as well. I hope you do too. If you need to get some tasting equipment, there is on the left side of the website, you'll be able to scroll down and see tasting cups. You'll be able to see the 80 milliliter GrandTea Gaiwan, which we're using here as well. Now we've got a regular equipment here as well. We've got our teaspoon out here that we're going to be using to measure. Now, because I've got the small package here, and it's going to be kind of rough on the leaves to go digging around with a spoon, I'm going to actually pull it out with my fingers, fill it onto my spoon so that we get an idea of just how much we're putting in. So that allows me to put some in there. And our goal, let me rest that there on top of the lid so we get a more level spoon. I'm going to try to cover the bottom of my Gaiwan. Gaiwan, of course, meaning gai, meaning cover, and wan, meaning bowl. So this is a covered bowl. And this is what the modern tasting cup is based on. And this is one of the more traditional early styles of Chinese appreciation utensils for appreciating tea. Now I've got, I would say, I've covered most of the bottom of my teaspoon, so I would say this is good enough. Yeah, and especially when you add it into the bottom of your cup here, you've covered most of the bottom of your cup. Let's see if we can, yeah, that kind of gives you an idea just how much we have in there. Now, so we've got that ready. I have my water here, which I've come close to a boil, not a full boil, but I would say, this is roughly probably between 180 and 200 degrees as far as our water temperature. And we're going to be going ahead and start to steep this. As we start to steep, you may already be able to want to start making notes on your dry leaf. You want to be able to talk about the shape and color, which you've already seen, and of course take a sniff inside and get some of the aromas as well that you're detecting. So I'm going to fill this Gaiwan up to the point that, and I'm probably going to have to add a little more water to that, because my goal here is to get my lid on and have a little bit of water coming out over the rim of the lid, which creates a nice seal. There we are. And of course, if you pour a little too much, that's okay. The handy thing about this kind of the saucer here at the bottom is it catches any overflow or spills. Now that I've got a nice seal, I'm going to let that steep. I'm going to slowly slide that over out of the way, get my water out of the way as well, so that we can talk a little bit more about GrandTea's GrandTeaShiFengLongJing that we have here. We're going to be talking about, as we said, dry leaf, the colors, the shapes, and the aromas. So some of the first things we're going to notice are our aromas, if you're ready to continue with us and join along. talk about our tasting here. Now I'm getting a sweet smell, and this is a kind of a green sweet smell that I associate with a couple of things. One is there's a Thai rice, a fragrant rice aspect to it. I'm also getting this one actually has a very faint, almost a minty sweetness, kind of a cooling aspect to it. I'm also getting I'm getting a bit of a nutty aroma as well, which is kind of like a cashew or a peanut type. For me, it's more of a cashew than a peanut. Now we're also going to be talking a little bit about our leaf here. Yeah, that gives us a few out that we can look at. Our leaves, as you'll notice, have the traditional characteristic of the dragon well in that they have been pressed flat, and that's the way that they've been kind of seared or fired in the wok as they've been treated or processed. You will notice that you have what looks like leaves, or the tips that have been pressed with some of the new tender leaves around them. You're also noticing that with the freshness, this can be a more light yet vibrant green color that we have here, which is also a nice pleasant color, indicating that this doesn't have too much age on it. This is a fairly fresh tea, so those are all good signs. Okay. Depending on, you may also get, of course, as it degrades or ages, it may go down to kind of like a pear green. It's got a little bit more of a duller, a little bit of a brownish tinge to it. But these, at this stage, quite fresh looking. And still, again, a nice pleasant smell associated with that as well. We also, we did mention the origin that we want to look for is, again, Shifeng, which is the name, which is one of the specific peaks around the West Lake in Hangzhou, in Zhejiang province. You can have a look at the map there for more information. I think on the Google Maps, the Lion Peak is actually labeled there. And again, there is Dragon Well, and then there are grades of Dragon Well even among that. And this one, Shifeng, depending on the source that you read, Shifeng is one of the higher grades. They even go to a further extent of giving A to AAA, to giving plus signs related to that. And again, this one is labeled with a AAA plus as far as its grade. So it's touted as quite high quality. Now, we opened up our cup here and we're kind of looking, because I'm kind of playing around with it, which you can do as well. But we've got quite a bit of color already coming off of these leaves. The leaves have opened up, so we'll be able to look at those as well. Now, something you'll also notice is that the top of your water may look a little thinner, a little lighter in color compared to the bottom. And you can always take your lid and use it as a kind of spoon or agitate that water so that the color distributes a little more evenly, so you can get a feel for just how the extent to which this has been steeped. Now, having done that, the second thing we want to get ready to do is prepare to talk about our wet leaf, and we're going to go ahead and pour as well. Now, when you're talking about your wet leaf, a couple of things you're going to want to talk about are your aromas off of your wet leaf, how your leaf has changed as far as shape or color compared with your dry leaf. We noticed how these have been pressed down flat. With the wet leaf, they've loosened up, and we can actually look at those a little more closely. Second thing, as we pour, you're going to also get a little bit of experience, if this is a new experience to you, of using your guy wand. First thing you're going to do, you see me doing, is I'm slightly angling or tilting my lid so that I've got a bit of an opening on this side. A little bit of a crack, slight crack between the cup and the lid. On the other side, at the same time, this allows an opening that will allow the air to enter as we are pouring. you take your longest finger, your thumb, on the edges of your cup here. You put your index finger in the top of the lid there, and lift and pour. Try to pour pretty quickly, prevent any spilling or dripping down the side of your cup. If your crack is, wide enough to pour smoothly, but also the goal, of course, is to make it narrow enough so that leaves don't slip through either. So we were able to set that aside and this aside. Now, if you're ready to talk a little bit more, if you need a few more minutes to pause, that's fine to talk about your wet leaf. You don't want to pause for too long, because now we're going to be going on and talking about our wet leaf. We're going to give it a sniff, kind of hit both nostrils separately and then together. So take one from this side. Again, you want to be careful. There's a lot of heat and steam packed under this lid. Okay. Yes. Now, a couple of things I'm noticing. I am getting that characteristic green bean type smell that's coming off of our cup, or the coming off of our wet leaves. That's common. Quite a little bit of a green bean that's also like a French long style, like a French cut style. Those tend to have a little bit more of a tender sweetness about them as well. So that is present. Okay. A little bit of a kind of a bok choy type smell as well coming from that. Okay. Third, we're going to also look at, or next we're going to also talk about our leaves. We're going to get a few of the leaves out. We'll put them on the lid so that we can look at those as well. Yeah, that gives us a few leaves to look at. The things that you're noticing about the leaves are tips and small leaves. How many leaves do you see kind of off to the side of the main stem or tip there? For example, here's some. You got a couple, 3, 4 maybe, 4 that are branching off of the main stem, and you've got the tip in the middle. You've got here you've got 2 or so, the main leaf there coming out the top, and our leaf color has still quite bright. You've got some more delicate, paler colored tips, because reflecting that this is a newer, more tender leaf, and you've got some that have got a little bit greener as they've had a little bit more time to mature. So that gives us a little bit of information about the maturity and style of our leaves. Okay. Again, these do look quite tender, quite healthy, indicating we've got a good quality here. Now, we're also going to move on, of course, and talk about our liquid. Our liquid, if you want to make notes about the liquor, you want to be able to talk about the color, the aromas that you get. You want to be able to talk about the texture, the body of it. You want to talk about the aftertaste. Those are probably the main 4 areas. You may also want to make a few notes about the level of astringency. If that's especially if astringency tends to put you off, you want to be aware of how much astringency this has, and make notes as comparison to other dragon wells and or other teas in general as far as the levels of astringency. Okay. So as you do so, also keep in mind you want to be able to slurp it, allow the air to kind of release more flavors. You want to be able to swirl it in your mouth so that all your taste buds can get a feel, give you a sense of the taste there. Also, by swirling it, again, it gives your whole mouth a feel of the texture of the tea as well. So, take it if you're ready to move on. If you're not ready to move on, you may want to pause, click back onto the liquor tag, and then join us again. Okay, but we're going to move on. As we do so, I guess I should point out some of our expectations that we have of dragon well teas in general. We do expect a little bit of we expect some of that sweet, fragrant Thai rice kind of aspect, the Thai rice that you get at some of your, your Thai type or Asian style restaurants. It does have a sweet floral note, even though it is a rice. Other aspects that you can get are kind of like a bok choy, like a Chinese cabbage type aspect to it, combined with like a nutty cashew aspect. It's better, depending on the quality, of course, it gets better from a roasted peanut up to like a cashew type taste to it. So those are some of the things that we're going to look for. Green teas like this do have a note of astringency, although the higher the quality, the lower, generally the lower the astringency. So we want to be able to note just the extent of the astringency to that as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and give this a taste. Before I even put this in my mouth, while I was still smelling it, the advantage of a wine glass, you get to stick your whole nose in there, really get a lot of aromas from that. You also notice our color. It does have a fairly pale yellow to this color, but the aromas I was already getting that kind of bok choy aspect to it. And again, this was a healthy, tender, slightly sweet type of bok choy, not an older, ragged leaf. That rice note comes out as well, so that it is a fragrant vegetable rice aspect to it. It does have a little bit of that kind of a floral Thai rice to it. Actually, on this one, the nuttiness is a little bit lighter, but nuttiness is associated more with the extent of the roasting. And you roast or you fire, especially at the end, if you have a weaker tea, and it doesn't, and you want to try to draw out more flavors. You fire it up to cover up some of the weaker aspects. So you don't necessarily have to have a strong nutty taste, because a nutty can mask deficiencies in your tea. Okay, so as far as the texture of the body, consistent. It doesn't dissipate down into wateriness. It's not extravagant either. As far as the astringency goes, very little to comment on. So this gives us a very gentle type of tea. Okay, so we have our aromas. Our aftertaste is consistent throughout. Let me give this one more shot. Yeah. Some things I do want to note, depending on the age of the leaf that you're getting. Previous tastings was with a leaf that I believe had effects of a little more aging on it. And in that leaf, I also want to talk a little bit about, there was a little bit of a clover texture to it, or aroma to it. Sweet clover. Again, this is still part of that sweet vegetable aspect, but there was a little bit more of the smokiness that came out, and that reflects a little bit more age, or that perhaps a different lot that was fired a little bit slightly differently. Other things that we noticed, it did have the rice. The body was softer with that age, and the color of your liquor, depending on the age of the leaf, did become a little more browner, a little more like if you were to take this cup, leave it out, come back to it overnight, you would notice that the liquor has become quite a bit browner to its color. Okay, but overall, because of this tender leaf that we have with us right here, because of the smells, the aromas, the gentleness of it, and the quality and the beauty of these leaves, really, we give this a 90. And again, this was GrandTeaShiFengLongJing. You can compare this tea, of course, with other Longjings, Longjing, which you'll find listed on the score sheet. You can also do a search here at Walker Tea Review over on your Over on my right, which would be your left, there's a search column. You can type in Dragon Well, find some teas there to compare with. Okay. Next time, we also want to be talking a little bit about, make sure that you look over to your left as well, up in the top. Look at the future episodes pages. Find out teas, or discover the teas that you want to taste with us, because it's always more fun to taste together with us and share those experiences. Also, as you do that, share your comments. Comments are coming in. People are asking lots of questions. How do I do this? Where do I learn more about tea? Of course, this is your main source. Perhaps you want to find books. There's information. I've answered questions recently about what are some good books to help you learn more about teas. Again, this is all part of what we're doing and how we're enjoying and exploring teas together at Walker Tea Review.